PharmaTelevision News Review here at Biotech and Money in London in 2015. On this show, I have Davies, who's Chief Medical Officer and advisor to the UK government. Welcome.
Absolutely, yes.
And when I say you're advisor generally to the government. You're independent, but you're advisor to the government at Prime Minister level all the way through to various departments, obviously the Department of Health. Now, we're here at a biotech conference. Biotech's a very important ingredient to overcoming disease in the future. How would you summarise biotech in the UK today?
Well, I'm also the lead for research in the Department of Health, so I know quite a lot about the biotech industry. Very supportive of it, a key part of our ecosystem, not only for producing innovations that make a difference for patients, but also for our economy and for growth. So it's a great place to be.
But we've had ups and downs in the biotech sector, as you know.
Yes.
Today, how would you summarise where we are?
Well, I was delighted to hear last week that last year was the best year ever on raising money for biotech. And with all the great ideas in our universities and our biotech sector, I'm not surprised, but it's good that money's beginning to flow again.
And that ultimately will benefit people in the UK.
It'll benefit everyone, yes.
Worldwide.
Absolutely.
Okay, so today is a very controversial day for some, but a very important one today because the UK Parliament, the British Parliament, passed a bill which allowed mitochondrial transfer technology to come into the IVF technology area.
So we're not quite there yet. The House of Commons voted by an overwhelming majority for regulations to allow mitochondrial transfer. In a few weeks, the House of Lords will vote, and we need that vote before the regulations are laid.
Sure.
But this is a terrifically exciting day because clearly we need Parliament to say it's acceptable before the regulator, the Human Fertilisation Embryology Authority, HFEA, can do its work.
Right, to ensure that all the issues that people are worried about are dealt with,
yes,
presumably.
And we are proud of our laws and regulations.
Right, now there's some misunderstanding out there about terminology that's been used, but can you describe in very simple terms what we're actually doing, how this makes a difference to patients?
So the problem is that we pass through the maternal line, actually, the batteries for our cells, the power pack, called mitochondria. And they're little organelles, and there are lots and lots in the cell. And they have 37 genes, which is 0.054% of our DNA, so not much. And those control a big part of how we make energy. Of course, we also have the nucleus, which is at the center of the cell, encasing our chromosomes, our genes that make us who we are. Your hair, which is now greying, my blue eyes, our personalities. And we're not talking about touching that, but there are a group of diseases called mitochondrial diseases where they do not provide the energy to the cell. And the severe ones, the children are born fairly normal, and then they develop weakness of the muscles, muscular dystrophy, heart failure, brain failure.
Devastating diseases.
It is devastating, and some of them die within the first year, and others in the first 20 years, and it must be horrible. There are families who've had 7 of these children.
So what does this do?
Well, what this does is allow, in properly licensed, safe laboratories, a modified form of IVF, where you have the mother and father's chromosomes, but you then put them into a cell where the mother's chromosomes have been taken away, and there's healthy cytoplasm and healthy battery packs, healthy mitochondria. And that then goes through to make human beings that are healthy.
Right. So if it works, and it seems to work, at least in some early trials, it'll make a big difference.
It'll make a massive difference to those 20 families that we will start with.
Okay, excellent. Let's move on to another challenge, because your job is to deal with challenges. And one of the big ones is antibiotic resistance. And you sit on the committee which is advising on the longitude prize. And this is the subsequent, since the original longitude prize, which went back into the 18th century, which obviously was to challenge of being able to measure longitude.
Yeah.
We've given a new challenge, which is diagnosis of early detection of antibiotic resistance. Could you describe why that's important?
Well, the problem with antibiotics, and Fleming, who discovered penicillin, said in his Nobel Prize acceptance speech it would happen, is when you use them, the bugs say, oh, I can escape this, and they develop resistance. And your viewers will know that this is natural selection. And if you think about the fact that bacteria replicate every 20 minutes, clearly when you've got one that's resistant, it replicates very fast, but then they're terribly clever. And they also pass some of the resistance in little plasmids, circular bits of DNA, sideways to other ones that then also multiply. So once you've got it, you don't respond to those antibiotics. We have multi-drug resistant TB, we have extreme drug resistant TB. In this country, 2% of gonorrhea are resistant to the standard best drug. So we are getting increasing resistant, 25,000 deaths a year in Europe, and we need to get on top of that. And clearly there are a number of ways of doing that. New antibiotics, but there's a market failure and we've disinvested as a world in that.
Yeah.
But actually, if we could protect our antibiotics and use them better, then resistance development would be slower. And if we can diagnose infections effectively and use the right antibiotics, then clearly we will delay antibiotic resistance.
Right. So clearly, one element of this, of course, is that we belong to a generation that didn't see the horrors prior to antibiotics themselves, because diseases that people died from were pretty horrific and awful. So this is really a big issue. It's a pretty painful, horrible death. So this is really important for humanity as well. So what's really important here, what I'm picking up from you, is not just a matter of being able to, say, detect early stage antibiotic resistance, is to be able to come up with the right therapy for the individuals, or early stage. So you're looking at very small quantities of bacteria at a very early stage of infection, which is a big challenge, because trying to detect very small quantities of anything in the body is difficult. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I think this is an extraordinarily difficult challenge, but that's why the public chose it for the Longitude Prize. After all, through the BBC, the public voted, over 100,000 of them, and antimicrobial resistance and a diagnostic to reduce it won the prize, or at least the category of the prize. Now I want one of our British biotech people to win the actual prize.
But it is open to worldwide, or is it just for the UK?
Worldwide people can join in, but they need to be linked into the UK.
Okay, right. And the prize is?
£10 million the government has put up. But of course, we'd love others to join us in funding it to be even better.
Dame Sally Davies, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.